Once upon a time, when the night seemed to be worn as the whole winter, in far northern lands, people used to gather all around large bonfires by singing or telling old stories. These were stories about all events from their people, about great achievements and huge sufferings, about far places and strange tribes, and of course about how magical life was in the times of their ancestors. In this way, in the quietness of the night, old people and sinners shared their wisdom with other guests. And somebody inevitably whispered, "Tell how everything had a beginning." So, let's listen a story which will start all the others. In the time before the beginning, there was only light, water, and air. And high above the infinity water expanse, there was a huge palace, hidden behind the shade of the northern lights. Its walls were made from fog, and the ceilings were rainbow. It was a palace of Lord Ukko, Sky Father and Master of all. He had a daughter, beautiful Ilmatar, Spirit of Air. But she was unhappy. She was weary of the constant stasis and loneliness in the huge palace. She just swept from room to room. But one day, everything changed. Nobody knows how it happened. But she fell from the palace into a huge hole. She fell into never-ending caves of clouds. And though Ilmatar was large as the world, the wind caught her as a feather and carried her gently to the waiting ocean. The unseen beauty of Ilmatar fascinated both wind and ocean, and they began fighting for possession of her. The ocean rose into enraged billows. The wind wallowed into a furious storm. The two forces were fighting savagely, and they looked indifferent to her shouts. And then there came silence. Ilmatar lay in the ocean floating. She became the mother of waters from this moment, and she was bearing a child now. A new life was arising and growing deeply into her body, sown by the courtship of ocean and wind. And while Ilmatar was waiting for the mysterious fruit to ripen, she swam through the waters. She swam for ages, and she found nothing but ocean. And she didn't give birth. Instead, she continued to float and swim for 700 years. All the while, she was alone, and again the loneliness and stasis began to trouble her. But suddenly, one day, she saw a winged creature. It was a gigantic seabird called Goldeneye. The bird was flying around looking for a place to land. Ilmatar looked at its tired fluttering and pitied the bird. She lifted her knee above the waters and let the bird land on it. The Goldeneye was glad, as it had found the right place after a long time. At first, the bird produced a smooth and shining egg, then a second, golden as the first, then the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, all alike. At the end, the Goldeneye produced the final egg, the seventh, different from the others. It was dark and heavy as iron. The exhausted bird lay down on the clutch to warm the eggs. Ilmatar was happy. She wasn't alone anymore. But the eggs became warmer and warmer as the bird remained sat on them. In short time they turned into a shining red, then into a scorching white, and they burned the soft skin of mother's knee. She suddenly screamed and kicked out her leg from the pain. The eggs fell into the water and shattered into pieces. The bird flew away. Ilmatar looked around and marveled. No piece of egg was lost. each fragment of shell and inner part was still there. The first half of golden eggshell became the land of the earth. The rest originated the celestial dome of the sky. The yellow yolk came together and formed the shining sun, and the albumen shaped the silver moon. The other tiny part came stuck to the dome, becoming the stars. The darkness of the last egg formed the storms, which darkened the sky. The mother of waters, still pregnant, floated away, but now the sun warmed her up and the moon lightened her nights. She saw the sun rising and the moon replacing it many times, but the baby, not yet born, remained in her body. Admiring the newness all around her, the mother started to dream, and she began her own magic. She continued to shape the land. With her fingers, she made hills, mountains, dunes, and water streams. By her arms, she made sandy coasts and large fissures. With her feet, she formed the depths of the oceans and underwater caves. She planted islands on the surface. At the end, she collected some stones and created 4 big pillars for supporting the sky above the land. She smiled. Her creation was completed. But the child was still inside her. He had been in her body for a long time, so he was no longer a baby, but an old wise man. He had given itself the name Wainamoinen. All the time he waited, and now when his mother finally finished her creation, he chose that now was his time. He crawled on his hands and knees and forced himself out. For 8 long years Wainamoinen swam through the water until he found land, but the land was barren. The Mother of Waters created the world, and now Wainamoinen had to clothe and cover it. But that is already another story.